Oh, goodbye. So my great grandma, Mary Louise Robinson, was born April 10th of 1936, which was like about to be post-era Great Depression. Um, Sad times, I know. She was conceived by Archie and Velma Henry. Archie was a financial consultant, specifically working in stocks, which was a bad decision at that time. Velma was just a stay-at-home mom. She just watched over her child. Nothing more, nothing less. When Mary Louise was growing up, her dad really talked her into the whole finance scene. She learned a lot from him. Like, she didn't go to college, she didn't graduate the degree. She learned all from her father, which is something that I admire because that's cool. Like, what? When she graduated high school, she immediately went into the finance field. She worked at a place called Associates Finance Incorporated, which is located in Bay City, Michigan. Pretty sure the name now is Myers. I don't know the pronunciation. Also, no, not like the grocery store. It's like Myers Associate Financial Incorporation. Her whole life, she spent it at this business. And while she worked there, she had a business trip down in Vegas. And my aunt told me this. She was either the first or one of the first women. She was one of the first women to speak about finance and business in general. That's badass. Of course, the years go on, you find love, you get married. Well, that's another thing actually. So, she didn't like being called Mary. The reason, I can't tell you. So everyone would refer to her as Louise, but her legal name was Mary. But continuing on with the last part, she met a guy named Herbert L. Robinson. Herbert worked all over the country. He was some form of, as they called it, like a production analyst. He did a lot all over the country, working with a lot of different branches. So it was like freelance, but also not. It's confusing to explain. So they ended up falling in love. They got married a couple years later, and that whole time they stayed married. Unfortunately, around 1990, Herb passed away and left my great-grandma Louise widowed. Great-grandma Louise was also the president of the Business and Professional Women's Club and was the first woman to retire as a branch manager under Associates Finance Company. That's pretty badass. Underlying everything, she was a big member of the church. Church woman, she loved it, had a lot of faith. So when she was not working, she was at church. And when she retired, guess where she was? Church, baby. After she retired, she held the role of senior warden at St. Albans Episcopal Church. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, so please strangle me if that's incorrect. She only held it for a couple of years because, sadly, over time, she developed both dementia and Alzheimer's, and it ended up taking, her life. She definitely could have lived longer. She died at 75, which, I mean, it's kind of not old, but also kind of not young. So I kind of understand, but at the same time, I feel like she could have lasted and lived in the world that we have today. Although I think she would have hated COVID because, let's be honest, we all do. Excuse my language here for a second. Sorry. But my great grandma was a bad bitch. Let me tell you. From what I read and how she succeeded and what I learned, she did a lot for women in business. And I think it helped shape where, this whole professional field is today. Kudos to my great grandma, I wish I could have learned a little bit more about her, home life and whatnot, but it's kind of difficult. So from what I found, I think this woman was very influential and was a positive in a lot of people's lives. So yeah,